What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope all doing well. Welcome back to the show. Let's get things started. So we're gonna start with a little bit of baseball. I know I haven't covered a whole lot, but shout out to the United States team in the World Baseball Classic. Of course, they beat the Dominican Republic a couple days ago. Venezuela beat Italy last night. So tonight, U.S. against Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic final at 8 o'clock should be a great game. Hopefully, the U.S. can pull through in that one. They're starting Noel McLean, the Mets' young starting pitcher. Venezuela has just announced Eduardo Rodriguez will be starting for them. The U.S. should have an advantage because Venezuela does not have a ton of bullpen help tonight. They used their bullpen, their starter, I think it was Crider Montero in the semi game, or no, am I mixing that up? Maybe no, it was I forgot who the starter was, but I don't think it was him. He didn't get out of second inning, so obviously the managers have to be careful. The starters, it's only March. A lot of these guys have 50, 60, 70 pitch caps. Paul Skeens even in the semi game against DR was only able to go up to like 75 pitches or so. And I'm pretty sure Noel McLean won't go past like 70 pitches tonight. So even if he pitches well, he probably won't get more than 4 or 5 innings. But Venezuela's bullpen's probably pretty taxed because they went 7 2/3 last night. And U.S.'s bullpen isn't super fresh either. They have a day off in between, but Mason Miller should be able to go for an inning to close. But I don't think David Bednar will be available. Thankfully, Garrett Whitlock is though from the Red Sox. So, but not having Bednar is going to hurt because he's been really really good as their seventh eighth inning guy for the U.S. team. Anyways, I'm going to predict. I'm gonna do my postseason predictions in Major League Baseball for this coming season. Season right around the corner. Of course, I did my division by division, team by team previews already. Finished that series. Now let's go into the my predictions for the playoffs, the American League. I think your division winners will be the Yankees, Tigers, and Mariners. Yankees AL East is tough. Toronto, I think they're really gonna miss Bo Bichette. I think they're going to miss his bat in that lineup. I think not having Santander. I know they didn't have him a whole lot last year. Didn't really factor in last year, and they went to the World Series. But you had Bo Bichette most of the year last year. He was healthy for most of the year last year. And I thought having Santander, I don't know what he would give you defensively, but he's still a 40 homer threat. And they're not going to have him at least half the year. I think they're going to miss him. I think that he would have lengthened their lineup, which is still a good lineup. I mean, not having him is going to hurt a little bit. And, I mean, I like their starting pitching. They have a lot of good depth. I do think Shane Bieber is going to miss the start of the year, but I think they'll be fine overall. Not so sure about the bullpen. It should be solid, but I'm not sure if it'll be great. And offensively, I think they're still a good offensive team, but, you lose Bo Bichette. You basically replace him with Okamoto, who I think could be a good player that they bring to the States, but I don't think will be as good of a player, at least not offensively, as Bo Bichette. Definitely a better defender, but not necessarily a better bat. Though I think he will have a decent bat at this level. So I think they may take a slight step back. The Yanks, I mean, they're running like the same exact team, but the starting pitching should be a little bit healthier. I know Garrett Cole is making a spring start. I think it might be today or tomorrow. So he's recovered from Tommy John a little bit quicker than we all thought. So he actually might be ready for opening day, which would be a huge plus for them. They have a ton of really good starting pitching. I'm not sold on the bullpen. Bednar's a very good closer. They have some other pieces. Fernando Cruz, Tim Hill's a good lefty. Camille Doval, but they're an injury or two away from the bullpen from being in some trouble. And offensively, I mean, they have a ton of power, for sure. But they're just you're counting on Ben Rice to continue to progress. Obviously, you brought back Goldschmidt to hit against the lefties at the first base spot. Then we'll see how the outfit works out. Will Spencer Jones debut this year? What do you do with Jason Dominguez? So there's just a lot of things that they're working through. But it's the same team again. I don't see this team as a true contender, but they'll probably win the American League East. Central's the Tigers. I don't think it's all that close. You had Framber Valdez pairing with Brooks Gubal is going to be deadly. You also have Justin Verlander, which is a full circle reunion. He showed down the stretch last year that he's still a pretty good pitcher, even in his 40s. So he should be a serviceable fifth starter still. Not great offensively, but their pitching is so good. I think they'll be fine. And this is a team under a lot of pressure with Twerk Scooball heading for free agency this coming winter. He got the lockout staring us right in the face. The Mariners, they go definitely win the American League West. This team was in the ALCS last year, Game 7. I thought they were going to win it all last year heading into the postseason. But they also have some incredible pitching across the board. Now you got Brendan Donovan, who's going to play mostly second base for you. Will probably hit leadoff. Very good hitter. Good bat to ball skills. Gets on base a lot. Great defender who can play all over the field. Josh Naylor comes back. You have a full year of him. He's a really good bat at first base. So actually has some underrated speed as well. So I don't think Cal Raleigh 60 home runs last year. I'm not sure if he'll hit 60 again, but it's just still a guy who year and year was hitting like 30 home runs, which is incredibly elite for a catcher. So Seattle, I think, is an excellent team. Is a World Series contender once again. They'll win the West. The 3 wild cards. I do think Toronto makes the playoffs. I know I just kind of bashed them a little bit, saying they're going to take a step back, but it's still a good baseball team. I think they'll make the playoffs. Them Yankees will definitely be the top 2 teams in the area of American League East again. I do think the Boston Red Sox will make the postseason. I'm very worried about their bullpen. Chapman is electric as a closer. He's a future Hall of Famer. Garrett Whitlock is also an elite level reliever. But the rest of that bullpen, I'm not in love with. A couple of pieces here or there that are bad, like Greg Weissert isn't bad. They have a ton of starting pitching depth, so they should have a couple guys that can give them length. They should have some really strong starting pitching. You add Sonny Gray, you add Johan Oviedo, Ranger Suarez is your big free agent signing. Brian Bayo, Carter Crawford coming back, Peyton Toledo, a couple young guys. So you have a ton of starting pitching, which is good. I do think they should have traded Jaron Duran or Willie Abreu for something. Maybe a true DH, which is not like a revolving door between Yoshida and Duran and some other guys. Or maybe a top bullpen arm. Hell, add another legit, number 2 starter maybe. Which they didn't end up finding. I think they're going to be fine in the rotation. But still, they're good offensively. A lot of young guys. Wish Alex Bregman came back. That was a tough loss for them. You're relying on a lot of young guys, like guys like Marcel Mayer and Christian Campbell, to really step into a full-time role. But I think they have enough depth to where they can kind of mix and match with really any pitching staff. So I think this is still a good baseball team. And there are going to be some growing pains because of how young they are. But I think they're still a playoff team. And the last team I believe was the Kansas City Royals. They're not great offensively, but you have Bobby Witt, who is an absolute superstar, arguably top 5 player in the game. Might be the best shortstop in the league. The only ones that compare to him. I love Francisco Lindor, but he's definitely better than Francisco Lindor. It's probably Bobby Witt, if I'm being completely honest. He's probably the best shortstop in the game. He's just incredible. 5-tool player. Alfred's still incredibly young. Vinny Pescatino is a legit power bat. He also had 3 home runs in a recent World Baseball Classic game and be a big part of Italy's run to the semifinals in the World Baseball Classic. He's very good. Just a really good young team. I think Jack Caglione from our high draft pick will take a step forward this season. He looked good in the World Baseball Classic as well. And they have some outstanding pitching. A healthy Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo are all some. They have a lot of really good starting pitching. Their bullpen's good. So I like what I see from the Royals. They brought in Isaac Collins to help out the outfield. I think that was a good move, giving up Angel Zerpa. So I think the Royals will make the postseason. National League. I have the Phillies winning the East. I want to say the Mets. I don't know what they're going to look like. I'm still worried about the starting pitching. I like the Freddie Peralta trade. He's an ace-level starter. I think Will McLean will be great. I think he wins National League Rookie of the Year, but the rest of the rotations have a lot of maybes. What will Kodai Senga look like? How many innings I get out of him? What will David Pearson look like? What will Shoman Naya look like? So I'm not sure how much better starting pitching. It's probably a little bit better. I'm not sure if it's enough. And again, I think the bullpen will be a little bit better, even though you lose Diaz. I think Devin Williams can bounce back. I like Luke Weaver. You got AJ Minter, mostly healthy this year. You should have him by at least May, I would think. But again, is it enough? That's a question that I have. I don't know. Offensively, they're going to have a lot of power even without Pete Alonso. You add Bo Bichette, who's a great hitter. You add Jorge Polanco, who can hit. Looks like Lindor's going to be healthy for opening day. But again, you're relying on younger guys like you need Brett Baty to continue to progress. You need a bounce back here from Mark Vientos. You need Francisco Alvarez to stay healthy. You need Carson Bench to step in as a rookie. What we get out of Marcus Semien. Also, this is a team that's not going to be good defensively. I appreciate them bringing in Luis Robert, who's a Gold Glove center fielder, sending with Marcus Semien, who's a Gold Glove second baseman. But Jorge Polanco's really never played first base. You have him playing first base for the most part. You have Bo Bichette's going to play third base. It looks like he's never really played third base. He's not a great defender anyway at second or short. Same thing with Jorge Polanco at second or third base or shortstop when he played shortstop. So I'm not sure what the defensive alignment is going to look like. And they're all they're the Mets. I know better than to expect a whole lot from them. The Braves, a lot of people have been picking the Braves to win the division. If their starting pitching is healthy, they probably will, but I'm not so sure it's going to be. Strider just draws so hard. He's susceptible to arm injuries. Schwellenbach has had arm issues, and Sam gets hurt every year, as good as he is. The Phillies, look, you obviously look a little bit different. You let go of Nicholas Castellanos. You let Ranger Suarez walk. We still have so much starting pitching. You have Wheeler fully healthy at some point. Noah should pitch better this year. Christopher Sanchez is a complete ace. You just extended Jesus Luzardo. Bullpen, they somehow have bullpen issues every single year, but I don't think they have a horrible group this year. They'll probably somehow have an issue, but it's not a horrific bullpen, and they still have plenty of offense. Bryce Harper is getting older, but he's still a good player, regardless of what his own GM thinks. That was the whole saga. Trey Turner is still a very good player. Bohm is streaky, but when he's on, he's one of the better hitters in baseball. Bryson Stott's a great second baseman, especially defensively. I know they have a small hole in center field with Rojas being suspended for half the year. He won't be available for the postseason. But I like the Adolis Garcia signing. He's a very good center fielder. His bat has kind of disappeared in recent years, but this is still a guy who was the MVP of the World Series 3 years ago. I think he can bounce back at least a little bit. This is still a good team. Rob Thompson as their manager. They probably reached their ceiling with him. I don't expect them to make a huge run, but I think they win the National League East just because look at the rest of the division. Miami is going to be very good. They're really, really young, especially after you trade away not Alcantara, Edward Cabrera. And Alcantara, I do think gets moved up a deadline if he pitches well. Washington's going to be horrific. The Mets are a complete mystery. I don't see them being more than a wild card team. Atlanta has too many health concerns. I just think Philadelphia, they'll be what they are pretty much every year, 92, 93 win team that falls short in the playoffs. But they'll win the East, I think. I have the Cubs winning the Central. I do this every year with the Central. Every year I feel like the Milwaukee Brewers are going to take a step back, and they don't. But I really think the Cubs are the better ball club this year. They have some excellent starting pitching. You add Edward Cabrera, Justin Steele being healthy, a healthy Cade Horton. This should be a really good rotation. Jameson Taillon in there as well. The bullpen, I'm not sold on, but they're pretty solid with Danny Palencia and company. You do lose Brad Keller, who closed for you mostly last year, but they're not great, but they're also going to have so much starting pitching they can kind of overcome it, and they should be good offensively. You got a couple of good young catchers there. Timothy Swanson's a good shortstop. You add Alex Bregman, that was a huge pickup. Still rates at third base. Great defensive third baseman. PCA should have a great year, I think. So even if losing Kyle Tucker, this is still a very good offensive team. Michael Busch is a 30 homer threat. This is an excellent defensive team as well. Craig Counsell's a really good manager. This is a really good put together team. I think they win the Central. Dodgers win the West. I mean, Roki Sasaki might be a young candidate. Eventually, he's their fifth starter. Shohei Ohtani is like their third starter. Like, what are we doing? Their rotation is ridiculous, and then their lineup, an already good lineup, adds Kyle Tucker, who's a guy that will hit 290 with 35 home runs and 100 RBIs if he's fully healthy. From Freddie Freeman to Will Smith, Mookie Betts is still a decent player. Teoscar Hernandez is good. But team's unfair. And they just add the National League's best closer, Edwin Diaz, a healthy Tanner Scott, Blake Troy, Alex Vesia. The bullpen should be pretty good. It should be better than it was last year. This team legitimately has a chance to be the best team of all time. That's not even an exaggeration. It's crazy. For wild cards, I think the Padres will definitely be the first wild card. This is a very good team. A lot of talent. Starting pitching, I know there's some concerns. You lose a couple pieces there. Yu Darvish isn't going to pitch for them this year. He's going to be injured the whole season. But Michael King is back. I know he has health concern, but when he's out there, he's really good. You have Joe Musgrove is going to be hurt to start the year, but you're going to have him at some point, probably earlier-ish on in the year. You had a career from Nick Pavetta last year. You have a couple of young arms that'll come up. Your bullpen's one of the best in baseball. You do lose Robert Suarez, but you're still with a very elite bullpen. Mason Miller close to you this year, where he's better suited anyway. And offensively, you have a ton of talent. Tatis is incredible. How he's translated to right field's been beautiful. Manny Machado is still a great player. From Jake Cronenworth, Jackson Merrill being healthy this year, this is a really good ball club. And then they make a managerial change. First-time manager in Craig Stammen, former relief pitcher for the Padres. Mike Schultz steps down after the year. He ends up going into retirement. But Padres every year seem to be overhyped every year. They go over at the deadline every year, and they end up losing the first round. Probably going to happen again, not going to lie, but they'll make the playoffs. Second wildcard team, I think it's the Milwaukee Brewers. Their pitching is just too good. They have so many good young starting pitching, even with trading Peralta. I know your ace is pretty much Brandon Woodruff, and he's never healthy. But first of all, when he is healthy, he's a fantastic pitcher. And you just have so many young arms. Sprout, who you get from the Mets, will come up at some point this year. Logan Hansen will come up at some point. Chad Patrick will be a full-time starter this year. I think Jacob Mizrachi can be a stud. I think he has a really good season. You just have so many young stars. Aaron Ashby will probably pitch mainly at the bullpen. He'll make some starts. Robert Gasser as well. The bullpen is very good. And offensively, you don't have a lot of power, but you have some guys with some really solid bat-to-ball skills. This is still a very, very good team. So I'm a little worried about the offense, just having no power. Like, you still have Christian Yelich at DH. You have some guys there who are really good, and they're a great defensive team. For example, Joey Ortiz sucks. He's maybe the worst hitter in the majors, but he's such a good defender. And Jet Williams, you get from the Mets, will come up at some point as well, and probably play center field every single day by the postseason. So I think they get into the playoffs. And the last team is the Braves. To me, this team has too much talent to miss the postseason. I know I just went over their health concerns, but a top three of Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, and Spencer Schwellenbach. If those guys give them 25 starts each, which is relatively reasonable, I think. This team should make the playoffs at least. And they have Grant Holmes in the back of your rotation. You add Robert Suarez to be a 1-2 punch of Russell Iglesias in your bullpen, so the bullpen should be better. And offensively, Drake Baldwin was rookie of the year last year. His backup is Sean Murphy, who's hit, almost 20 home runs last year, and he was a backup. Matt Olson's still a great player. Acuna is an incredible player. He just got to stay healthy. Olsen Robbie healthy this year, hopefully. Hopefully get something out of Ozzy Albies. This team has so much talent. I think, you get the change in the dugout you need. Brian Sticker did a great job there. We're winning manager in Atlanta, but it was time for a change. He steps down. Will Weiss is promoted. I think that's the right move. I think he'll give them a little bit of a spark. I think the Braves will make the playoffs. In the World Series, I think it's the Dodgers again. I guess it's the Seattle Mariners. I have the Dodgers winning in 7 games. I know it's boring, but I do not see anybody beating the Los Angeles Dodgers. Let's talk basketball. So let's go over what the NBA standings looks like as of today, Tuesday, March 17th. By the way, happy St. Patrick's Day to all you out there, especially you Irish people out there. They're probably drinking already, but seriously, if you are drinking, please be safe. It can get a little dangerous out there. Back to the basketball. Pistons still in the Eastern Conference, 48-19. Pistons are starting to worry me. This isn't a bad team. This is a very good team. Kate Cunningham is incredible. I don't think that they have enough outside of them. Now, that looks weird. You look at their roster, it's good. They have a lot of specialists. You have a couple of guys who are 3-point specialists, can come in, hit a three, and then, hit a three or two, like Duncan Robinson, Kevin Hurley, who you made a trade for at a deadline. You have some depth down low. Jalen Duren's really good. Isaiah Stewart is a good player. But just this, they present themselves as this really tough team. I don't see that flying in the playoff. Isaiah Stewart here and there does something really stupid, kind of lets his emotions get the best of him. If that happens in the postseason and they're down a really talented big man, that's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt them defensively. It's going to hurt them on the glass offensively. That's going to really hurt them. So I feel like someone's going to upset them in the second round. Boston Celtics, second in the East, 45-23. They are without Nikola Vucevic right now, but Jason Tatum is back. That's a crazy recovery from torn Achilles. Only 10 months. He's looked pretty good. I know he's not playing back-to-backs right now, but that's a good basketball team, and they have the experience in the playoffs. These other teams really don't have. Knicks are third, 4-4-25. I don't understand this team. One look like the NBA championship favorites. Next time, they look like a complete pretender. You barely beat the Warriors in their last game, and they had like their whole lineup out. This is a good team. I know Jeremy Brent was going through a bit of a rough patch. They're double teaming him every single time because they know Karl Anthony Towns is not being used properly. But last two games, he's looked a lot better. This kid Mo Diawara or something else. They have a lot of really good depth. They've been a lot better defensively. They just gotta be a little more consistent when it comes to shooting the free ball. Cavs 4-1-27. They were red hot after getting James Harden. They've kind of cooled off since then, but still a good team. Though I think their playoff ceiling is the same as every year. We all know what James Harden does. The Magic are fifth at 38-29. So the Magic have gotten hot. Lost last time, but before that they had won 7 in a row. So they might actually not be in the play-in. Uh, the Raptors were also 38-29. They haven't been playing great for a little while now. They're going to lose in the first round. Then I hope the Knicks get them in the first round because the Knicks might sweep them. They were 4-0 against them in the regular season. I think the same might happen in the playoffs. They're just not that great. And the kudos to them. They've been bad for a couple of years. Kudos to them for getting back into the mix. Hopefully they get into the top six. Will at least be a playing team, but they will not get out of the first round. But it is progress for the Toronto Raptors. The Heat. They've been playing some good basketball. Obviously, you had Bam's 83-point game with 43 free throws, which is stupid, but I'm not going to get into that. Good for him, I guess. But they've been playing a lot better basketball. When you're the first playing team, only a half game out of fifth in the East. Atlanta has won 10 games in a row, and they've moved up one spot to play in, which shows you how wild the end of that Eastern Conference bracket is. 37-31. They are a game out of seventh, a game and a half out of fifth. Philly's at 37-31, so they're hanging in there. I can't believe they traded away Jeremy McCain for nothing, by the way. And Bede obviously in that lineup. Still no Paul George, still suspended. But should be coming back soon. But this team, they might lose them to play. Honestly, they're just not that good. We all know what Embiid does in the playoffs. Charlotte Hornets are now the last team in. They're at 500. For a while, it was looking like this Charlotte team might get out of the play-in. They've been playing some excellent basketball. They probably still have the best record in the NBA for the last like 2 months, but cooling off a little bit. Still playing some good basketball. They'll be a playing team, but we are looking at some point that this team could possibly win a playoff series a couple of weeks ago. Now they're looking like, all right, they might lose them to play in, but some major progress from the Charlotte Hornets team that's starting to really build something. In the play-in, the Bucks, obviously Giannis has been hurt a lot this year, been playing really bad. They have fallen 5.5 games out of the play-in. The Bulls have a bunch of injuries. Their roster just a bunch of random young guys that don't fit together. They're a confusing team. They suck. 28-40. They are 6 games out of the play-in. And Brooklyn, Washington, Indiana are all out. Brooklyn, they're not even tanking. They just flat out suck. There's a bunch of 21-year-olds playing together, plus Michael Porter Jr. The Wizards are brutal. Trae Young has played like 2 games for them. Anthony Davis hasn't played a single game for them. They are a horrific basketball team. Now Keyshawn George is hurt. And Indiana, they're very obviously tanking. Because they realize, Halliburton's injured this year. They've had a lot of injuries. Zubac has barely even played for them, and they got him at the trade deadline. They are god awful. They're actually the worst team in the NBA now, which is kind of crazy, considering they were just in the finals. I get it. You lose some pieces in the offseason. Halliburton injured. You make the Zubac trade, but it's so crazy. They're the worst team in the NBA. That's kind of crazy. Western Conference, Thunder still have the best record in the NBA, 53-15. And they've won 8 in a row. I don't like them. I'm not a big fan of Shai and Lou Jordan and how they play, but they are an incredible basketball team. Spurs are in second, 15-18. They're a great team as well. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama is something we've never seen before. If the Lakers at third, Lakers have won 6 in a row. Luka's been bowling out. Austin Reeves has been playing really well as well. So we're overcoming the deficiencies of the ancient LeBron James. The Rockets are in fourth, 41-26. They're a pretender. They're going to lose in the first round. They're just Eamon Thompson's a great defender, but he just doesn't score enough on a nightly basis, night in and night out. I had a feeling when they lost Fred VanVleet, their ceiling kind of got lowered. And like some of the young guys like Jabari Smith, they're just not there yet. Durant's still a good player, but he's also old. Denver's in fifth, 41-27. Look, Jokic is still an incredible player. Jamal Murray's really good. They still have enough depth, and they're just terrible defensively. Minnesota's also 41-27. I love Anthony Edwards, but Julius Randle has not had a good year. This is probably his worst year in quite a few seasons. And they just don't have enough. And the first playing team is the Suns at 39-29. Thankfully, they got Dylan Brooks back. Clippers are 34 and 34. They're at 500. Obviously, played a lot better after that brutal start, but they're going to lose. They're at best, they'll be a first round exit. They might even lose them to playing. Golden State 33 and 35. They have a zillion different injuries. I don't think Steph Curry plays another game this year. Porzingis, I don't know what's wrong with him. His body is just literally shoving down on him. They're probably going to lose them to playing, to be honest. And Portland 33 and 36. I will say kudos to them for hanging in there after their coach got arrested right in front of them, basically. But they're the last playing team. Those are going to be the 10 teams. Kings, by the way, are already eliminated at 1851. Memphis is 9 games out of the plan. Like, yeah, we are number 10 teams. Memphis isn't very good. They've lost 8 in a row. Pelicans 23 and 46 are god awful. Dallas 23 and 46. Obviously, a ton of injuries. AD gets hurt, then gets traded away. Kyrie isn't going to play this year. So it's Cooper Flag and a bunch of Jags. Klay Thompson isn't the same player. Utah 20 and 48. Lloyd Markkinen and Jaren Jackson both injured. They're just done. And the Kings are tanking / they're just really bad. They're just bad. Zach LaVine's out for the year. They're completely hopeless. And some news with the NBA. Next week, the NBA is going to vote on potential expansion for the 2029 season. The two teams that are expected to come up are Vegas and Seattle. If they bring Seattle back, they have to still be the Supersonics. They got to bring like the same jerseys, the same team name. You got to bring them back. Vegas, I mean, we're just adding everything to Vegas. It's a money grab. I don't think it's needed. We already have enough bad teams in the NBA. We don't need to add 2 more. But I have a feeling they're going to vote yes because it's more money for the NBA. That's all I care about. Let's talk NFL free agency. So Jalen Waddle earlier today gets into the Broncos in the blockbuster trade. He gets sent to the Broncos from the Miami Dolphins. Him and the 4th round pick to Denver. Miami gets Denver's 1st round pick this year, the 30th pick, a 3rd rounder, and a 4th rounder. This is an overpay for the Denver Broncos, I would say, for the kind of player that Waddle is. But this is still, I think, a good trade for them. This is a really important piece. By adding Jalen Waddle, he gets to settle into the role that he's best at. I know Washington had the best year, 64 catches for 910 yards, 6 touchdowns. He has never had more than eight touchdowns in a year. Hasn't had more than 6 since 2022 when he had 8. Got to remember, the last 2 years he had to act as the wide receiver 1 in Miami because Tyreek Hill was either injured or underperforming, bad quarterback play, and some other stuff going on. Waddle fits best in like that wide receiver 2 role, to where he's getting more one-on-one coverage where he can just blow past guys. Like when Tyreek Hill's at the peak of his powers, like in 2022, that's why Jalen Waddle had the best year of his career. Over 1,300 yards, 18 yards of catch, led the league and 8 touchdowns. But last year had to be the one because Tyreek Hill was hurt the whole year and he wasn't as effective, but he's still a very good receiver. He's only 28 years old. I think he has a couple years left on his deal, has at least a year or 2 left on his deal. And he's an elite deep threat. He has game-changing speed. Obviously, he reunites with Broncos All-Pro corner Patrick Surtain. They played together in college at Alabama, which is cool. And this gives Bo Nix, who's a very underrated downfield passer, a legit deep threat next to Courtland Sutton, who's an elite red zone threat. This allows Troy Franklin to settle into a slot role as a wide receiver 3. And so allows Marvin Mims to feel like he can go out and just be the kick returner that he is and kind of zone in on being the wide receiver 4. And when Ingram doesn't have to carry as much of a pass catching load, he should be more effective. It takes pressure off the running game. RJ Harvey, 2nd year back, and J.K. Dobbins, who we all know is going to miss 5-6 games probably every single year. You have an elite offensive line, and you're an elite defense. To me, this makes the Denver Broncos the clear-cut AFC West favorites once again, and I think it puts them right back in that Super Bowl contending window. If they probably were already in that window after last year, but they are definitely a Super Bowl contender after the Jalen Waddle trade. For Miami, this is a good trade. You're completely starting over. You don't have much of a choice. Obviously, new regime coming in. You get a second first-round pick. You get 2 extra day 2 picks. This is the right move. Now, with 30, you can move back into the second round and pick up an extra second-round pick. Now you have 4 third-round picks this year. You can move 1 or 2 of them to move up back to the second round. Maybe you move 30 and get a second rounder. So you have a lot of options here. You can get a couple of really good players in this draft. I know I said early in the offseason that they weren't going to trade him or HN, but this is one of those things where it's like, obviously, if you get an offer you can't refuse, you got to take it. I think this was One of those. I wonder if Devon Achane now they're like, you know what, let's just ship him off. And they're like, they probably were thinking Jalen Waddle would go for like a day two pick. Like we got a 1 and 2 day two picks for Waddle. Could get something similar for HN. So if I were them, I'd call around the league, see if they can get something for Devon HN. But Jalen Waddle goes to Denver. Chiefs make two small moves. They trade for Justin Fields. Jets are paying seven of his $10 million guaranteed money. They only got a 27 6th round pick. I wanna know whose idea that was because Field is utterly awful. Um, if Andy Reid was the one who brought up to Brett Veach, I wonder if Brett Veach like threw something at him. But that being said, they need the backup. I do think Justin Fields and like a Taysom Hill kind of role can have some success. Obviously, for a first round quarterback, that's just pathetic in terms of what his career has turned out to be. But if anyone can find a way to use a guy like that, it's Andy Reid. But he goes to the Chiefs to be the backup. It might just start week one with Mahomes coming off a torn ACL. The Commanders signed Rachaad White on a 1 year deal. Rachaad White to sell pass catching back. He reunites with his old college quarterback Jaden Daniels at Arizona State. The 49ers signed Drake Greenlaw. They bring him back. He spent his whole career before last year. He was with Denver. Denver cut him. He only played 8 games last year. A lot of injuries last couple of years. Only played 10 games, but he was an all-pro caliber linebacker back in 2020. Last year he was fully healthy with the Niners. That year had 120 tackles. He had 4 pass defenses and the second and a half. So when healthy, he's an excellent linebacker, but he's going to be 29 and he's coming off 2 straight injury play years. So hopefully he's healthy. He reunites with the 49ers. Seahawks signed Emmanuel Wilson a year for $2.1 million. Definitely underrated signing. He had a very productive year last year. Averaged 4 yards per carry, 496 yards as a part-time back last year for the Packers. Got some more work with Josh Jacobs battling injuries last year. Going to be 27, I think, is a very solid complimentary running back. The Vikings signed Kyler Murray to a 1 year deal. It's 1.3 million. It's the veteran minimum. Remember, he's still making like $35 million in the Arizona Cardinals. Those also he cannot be franchise tag next year. So everyone's jumping on, oh, it's an actual NFL quarterback. The Vikings are going to be really good next year. Take a beat. I get it. He's in Kevin O'Connell's system now. Justin Jefferson's a stud. Jordan Addison, Hawkins, and Aaron Jones comes back as the running back. O-line should be a little bit better. Defense is decent. Keep in mind that it's still Kyler Murray. He shows a very limited ceiling. He's hurt every year. Not a very good leader. I guess they're better. The dude with the 18th pick, I know they cut both their D tackles, Hargrave and Jonathan Allen. I didn't think that will hurt them. Kyler, I think it's a serviceable quarterback, but I don't think he's anything past that. Granted, you can argue that's all his team needs, but he might get Kevin O'Connell fired, honestly, if this goes poorly enough. So hold off on your Kyler cheers. Okay, let's hold off. I don't really think he's all that. That being said, anything is better than 9 and Max Brosmer. People are saying they went from 9 to 5'9" because Kyler Murray is like 5'9". Pretty funny, but Kyler goes to the Vikings on a 1 year deal. Bill signs C.J. Gardner-Johnson a year for $6 million. That guy every year finds himself on a contender. I don't know how he does it, but he's a solid defensive back. Wasn't great last year from the Bears and the Texans, but he had 6 tackles, 3 sacks, which is very good for a safety. 4 pass defenses, a forced fumble, 2 picks. He's a solid defensive back, going to be 29. He goes to the Bills. Bills need some help in the secondary, and they get it with Gardner-Johnson. The Steelers signed Jaquan Brisker a year for $5.5 million. Last year had 93 tackles. Last year for the Chicago Bears, where he spent his whole career, 8 pass defenses and a pick. Solid safety who the Pittsburgh Steelers added, so they add to a secondary along with him and Jamal Dean. The Niners signed Christian Kirk a year for $6 million. He wasn't very productive last year, only had 28 catches, but he's in the overall better offense. Not a better quarterback by any means. And Shannon, as good as he is, he certainly isn't as good as Andy Reid, but I think he's in a slightly better situation. And then Dallas Goedert resets with the Eagles a year for $7 million. Flame was a $4.2 million, so he gets deals on with the Eagles. And the Kansas City Chiefs also bring in, not the Chiefs, the Eagles sign a Hollywood Brown a year for $6.5 million. So they bring in a deep threat. He's kind of a death piece at this point. That injury's kind of done him in from 2 years ago, but I do think the Eagles can find a way to use him as a deep threat. He gets a year for $6.5 million. Okay, so I'm hoping, this looks relatively solid on the Zoom here. So you see me in the top right corner. It's what it should look like. I'm going to do my March Madness bracket. If you watch this show, you know I don't cover a whole lot of college basketball. Uh, College basketball has really annoyed me this year with you got the players going back from playing professionally back to college, all these eligibility BS. And I just think it's become a complete sham of a sport. So I've been avoiding it, to be honest. But it's hard, and March Madness is kind of ruined with the NIL and the transfer portal because now all these trendy mid majors are gone because of the transfer portal. But it's March Madness. I got to my bracket. Normally, I spend a couple days doing as much research as I can to pick the perfect bracket. I don't even care anymore, so we're going off vibes. If you don't like it, I don't really care, to be honest. But Duke Siena, obviously Duke is going to win that one. Ohio State and TCU. This is a more interesting matchup. The better defensive team here is TCU. Ohio State's much better from the line. I'm going to take Ohio State. Free throw shooting is very important in college basketball late in games. A lot of teams do not shoot well from the line in college basketball. I got to remember, this is a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds with a lot of pressure. These are not professionals like the NBA. Teams that do shoot free throws well, like Ohio State, usually have an advantage. St. John's against Northern Iowa. St. John's is weird. They also remind me of the Knicks, which is kind of funny considering they play in Queens usually. And also some games are played at Madison Square Garden, which is even more hilarious. One night, they look like they can go all the way. The second night, they look like they're going to lose in the first round. So I don't know what to think of them. They're very inconsistent. When they play really solid defense, they are a very good team. They can beat anybody. When they don't, they're very, very vulnerable. I think they get past Northern Iowa now. I'll take St. John's in that game. Number 4, Kansas against number 13, Cal Baptist. I think Kansas is overrated. I'm not sold on Darren Peterson. He'll probably be a top 5 pick this coming year. He has a lot of talent, but he has injury concerns. I'm not sold on him personally. I don't see Kansas having a big run, but Kansas will get past Cal Baptist. Number 6, Louisville against number 11, South Florida. This is one I went back and forth with. South Florida, I see everyone picking as an upset. There's always like that one game that everyone's picking the upset. It just seems so obvious. Sometimes it's almost so obvious that it doesn't happen. And part of me is getting that feeling with this game. However, I don't love Louisville, so I'm going to take South Florida. I think they could pull off an upset. Number 3, Michigan State against number 14, North Dakota State. But this year, March Madness is wide open. There's, like last year, the 4 one teams last year were so head and shoulders. Now, there's like 15 different teams that could win. I'm going to take the Spartans to beat North Dakota State. They are a good team. Number 7, UCLA against number 10, UCF. I'm going to take UCLA. Number 2, UConn against number 15, Furman. Furman's done it before. They've had some pretty crazy upsets over the last bunch of years, and I'm not sold on UConn. I think they're frauds this year. Don't think that they have what it takes. Dan Hurley is going to lose his mind on one of these games to get a bad technical foul late in games. I've always had to fear with him with that. But I'm going to take UConn to win at least this game. On to the actually, let's not go to South Country. That should just finish up the East region. Number 1, Duke. I'm number 8, Ohio State. I have Duke winning. Duke's just so dominant. Cameron Boozer Jr. But it makes me feel so old that Cameron Boozer's son is going to be in the NBA next year, or probably a top 5 pick. But he is really good though. Duke moves on. Number 5, St. John's against number 4, Kansas. These are 2 overrated teams. I love St. John's. They're a closest thing to a local team that I have out here on Long Island, but they're just not built to have a long run in this tourney. But I also think Kansas is overrated. Obviously, 2 Hall of Fame caliber coaches with Rick Pitino and Bill Self. I am going to take Kansas. I think Darren Peterson, as much as I'm not a fan of his, he will be the best player on the floor in that game. So I have Kansas moving on. South Florida and Michigan State. I'm going to take MSU. I think South Florida's Cinderella run ends in the round of 32. And UCLA and UConn, I think UCLA pulls off the upside. I think UCLA could be an underrated team in this tourney. Duke and Kansas. I got Duke moving on. Kansas meets their match. Michigan State and UCLA. I'm going to take Michigan State. They're a better team. Duke and Michigan State in the Elite Eight. Duke wins. They're just too powerful. They move on to the Final Four. In the South region, Florida will beat the piss out of a 16 seed. Clemson and Iowa. Clemson, I feel like every year looks really good on paper, and they lose in the first round. However, Iowa, no matter what, loses in the first round every year. So I'm going to take Clemson to win that game. Vanderbilt and McNeese. McNeese has been a popular upset pick. That's, I think, the one I was talking with South Florida. Like, everyone's picking it, but it's too good to be true. Vanderbilt's playing some really good basketball. Just won the SEC tournament. Give me Vanderbilt. Nebraska against Troy. I would love to see Troy win, but I'm going to take Nebraska. They've obviously cooled off since that great hot start in the beginning of the year, but I'll take Nebraska. Number 6, North Carolina against number 11, VCU. I don't think VCU, but I'll take UNC. Illinois against Penn. Give me Illinois. They're a really good team. St. Mary's against A&M. St. Mary's every year dominates against bad teams in their conference and then gets clotheslined in the tournament, usually relatively early on. I'm going to say that I'll say they beat Texas A&M. And Houston against Idaho. Houston will beat Idaho, though I'm not sold on the Cougs this year. Florida and Clemson. This is the thing. I don't think Florida is all that great. I think they're a very flawed team. The defending national champions. They are a 1 seed again. But the South region is such a joke. I think they beat Clemson. I'll have them in the Sweet 16. Vanderbilt against Nebraska. I'll take Vanderbilt. I think they're a good team that gets hot at the right time. North Carolina against Illinois. I'll take Illinois. And St. Mary's and Houston. Give me Houston. Florida and Vanderbilt. I'm going to take Vanderbilt. I think they're playing some really good basketball. I think Florida is flawed, and I think Vanderbilt will expose those flaws. Illinois against Houston. Give me Illinois. I'm not sold on Houston this year. I know they're a Tuesday. They were in the national championship game last year. They were very close, but I think Illinois beats them. Vanderbilt and Illinois in the Elite Eight. I'm going to take Illinois to go to the Final Four. I think this is a really good team. Now let's try and shift my computer here over to the other region. There we go. West. Arizona against LIU. Congrats to LIU coming out of the NEC or Sacred Heart, where I went to school. You see, I have a Sacred Heart shirt on. Used to play. I saw some videos. They got some pretty wild cheerleaders. Looks pretty exciting to go to a game, but they're not going to beat Arizona. Although again, Arizona every year they're a 1 or a 2 seed and they fall short every year. Villanova against Utah State. I'm taking Utah State. You winning games in the Big East, I'm not impressed. Villanova was the third best team in the Big East, but that's not saying a whole lot. I think Utah State beats them. Wisconsin against High Point. Give me Wisconsin. Look, Wisconsin every year I feel like they're going to lose in the first round, and they don't. Arkansas against Hawaii. It would be awesome if Hawaii won, and they're an exciting team, but I think Coach Cal gets it done. Though I'm not sold on Arkansas. BYU would play the winner of the first 4 game, Texas or NC State. I'm going to take BYU. I think AJ DeBanza should be the number 1 overall pick in this coming draft. The rest of the team around him is not great, but they'll win this game. Gonzaga against Kennesaw State. Give me Gonzaga. Kennesaw State's a fun team, but yeah, you lose to Gonzaga. Miami against Missouri. Give me Missouri in that game. And Purdue against Queens College. I'm not a Queens team, woohoo, but you will lose to Purdue. You will lose to Purdue. Now, Arizona against Utah State. I don't like Arizona, but I think they'll be Utah State. Wisconsin against Arizona. Against Arkansas. I'm going to take Wisconsin here. I'm really not sold on Arkansas this year. BYU against Gonzaga. A lot of people are low on BYU. I don't think they're a great team outside of one player, but DeBanza is so good. And Gonzaga, every single year, Gonzaga dominates in the stupid little weak conference that they're in, and they lose early on in March Madness. The closest they got, a few years ago, they got to a national championship game. And that year, I was so sure they were finally going to get it done. Like, pick them to win it all. I was so pissed when they got blown out by Bama that year. But I think BYU with the upset. Missouri against Purdue. I'm going to go with... I'll say Purdue wins this game. I'll say Purdue wins. Arizona against Wisconsin. The West region, low-key, is not very good. That's better than what I the eye tests are originally. I will take. Remember, this is just a vibes bracket, so I'm sorry if I'm not a college basketball connoisseur like Jay Billis is. I'll take Wisconsin. Every year there's like one or two teams that just I didn't know a whole lot about. I'm like, they're winning a game or two, and they end up being really, really good. I feel like Wisconsin is that team. BYU against Purdue. I'm taking BYU. Purdue, besides the 1 year with Zach when they went to the Natty, is a fraud every year. Obviously, you got upset in the first round like 3 years in a row at one point. They're also a 16 seed a couple of years ago, which was wild. Uh, Shout out to St. Francis. Wisconsin and BYU in the Elite Eight. Give me BYU. They're going to the Final Four. I think AJ DeBance is going to have one of the most tournaments for the ages and show NBA teams. You better take me the first overall pick, whoever wins the NBA lottery. In the Midwest, Michigan against either UMBC or Howard. I'm taking Michigan. If UMBC wins, they did it before it was 16 team, just saying, but I think Michigan wins. They're probably the second best team in this tournament outside of Duke. Georgia against St. Louis. I actually think St. Louis is a better team, but they have a lot of injuries right now, so I'll take Georgia. Texas Tech against Akron. Give me Texas Tech. Akron's always a fun team. They're like a 12 or a 13 seed. They usually lose in the first round, though. Alabama against Hofstra. So keep in mind, Alabama's second leading scorer just got arrested. He's not with the team right now. Probably won't play in this tournament. But are they going to lose to Hofstra, though? Again, I'm cool. Another New York team. This team's actually on. They're somewhat closer to me. But you know what? Screw it. We're taking Hofstra. We are taking Hofstra to win and upset Alabama. Alabama will definitely miss the player that's out. So Tennessee will put a winner of Miami, Ohio, of course, the 31-1 team coming out of the MAC, or SMU. I feel like every year was one team from the first four that had a pretty decent run. They win at least one game. I'll say that team beats Tennessee. I don't love Tennessee. Virginia against Wright State. I don't think Virginia is very good. But I think they beat Wright State. Kentucky against Santa Clara. Kentucky I go back and forth with, but I think they beat Santa Clara. And Iowa State against Tennessee State. Definitely don't love Iowa State in this tournament, but give me Iowa State. Okay, second round. Michigan against Georgia. Give me Michigan. They're just too good. Texas Tech against Hofstra. We'd love to see Hofstra go on a run, but I think they lose to Texas Tech. Miami, Ohio, or SMU against Virginia. I think that team will end up in the Sweet 16. I don't think Virginia is very good. They do this every year. Besides the one year, the national championship game, like was it 17 or 18? It was the year after they lost to UMBC. Every year they disappoint. Kentucky against Iowa State. I'm gonna take Kentucky. I like what who's over there? It's Mark Pope, the coach over there. Yeah, I like what he's done over there. Don't believe in Iowa State. Give me the Wildcats. Michigan or Texas Tech. Michigan overpowers them. We got Miami, Ohio, SMU against Kentucky. I think Kentucky wins and ends the Cinderella run in Elite Eight. Michigan against Kentucky. I think Michigan moves on. They're just too good. Final four. Duke and Illinois. Give me Duke in a really good game. Duke slips by them. BYU and Michigan. BYU's run ends. Michigan beats them. Duke and Michigan in national championship. I think Duke wins. John Shire gets out of Coach K shout out. Also, they win 78-67. Duke is your national champion. So let's take this home. Let's recap Monday Night Raw from last night. On Monday Night Raw, that opening segment was fantastic. The two individuals that started, Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, their dedication to this business needs to be appreciated. Seth Rollins, how many surgeries does this guy have from his back to his knees to his shoulder? And he rushes back every single time to create great moments for us fans. One of the true all-time greats. And Paul Heyman, this man is in his 60s. Obviously, he's in the best shape. He does not have to take all these crazy bumps and go to the levels that he does to sell storylines, to do what he did, to look like that. Just kudos to him. Him and Rollins had a little back and forth. And then the F5 to the F5 was great. Brock Lesnar comes out. He fought off all the masked men, probably put a couple of them in the hospital. Then Oba Femi comes out and power bombs Brock Lesnar, and then Oba Femi steps on Brock. It will be Oba against Brock against WrestleMania. That should be a great match. Oba better win that match. But kudos to Brock to making Oba Femi look like a beast. The next great wrestler is here, and his name is Oba Femi. Great. first segment. We had OG El Grande Americano against the new El Grande Americano. The new El Grande won. This match was just kind of pointless, and they cannot run this back at WrestleMania. I thought there might be a potential for that. I don't like Ludwig kind of works as El Grande. This gimmick just doesn't work in the States. It only works in AAA. Ludwig, he's done an amazing job of it. He could kind of survive with this gimmick. We need Chad Gable back. Get him out of these El Grande BS. The women's Intercontinental title match, AJ Lee against Bayley. This is a pretty solid match. AJ Lee wins. She retains. Come out a commercial break, and then Becky Lynch attacks her. Looks like they'll run it back at WrestleMania as I thought she would. They would. I think Becky will win back the championship. Intercontinental title match, Penta with an open challenge against Dragon Lee. Penta retains in an incredible match. AJ Styles putting over Dragon Lee in his last run needs to be talked about more because Dragon Lee is an absolute star, very underrated. Two babyface luchadors. That was just an amazing match. Dragon Lee with an amazing sell of the Mexican Destroyer to finish off that match. This was just pure, just beautiful. And then after this backstage, and Logan Paul and Theory told him, we're going to get Seth Rollins. He's like, no, this is what he wants. They also said they're going to go after LA Knight. He went a backstage run-in with the Usos. Max and Dupri against Natty for the 45th time in a row. Natty taps her out to the sharpshooter. This match sucked, and for the love of God, get these two off my damn television screen. I'm tired of seeing them both. I thought at one point Maxine maybe could, when she won the IC title briefly from Becky, maybe she could have a little mid-card run. I don't know if I see it. And Natty's heel character, eek, yikes. Yikes. When she first turned heel, I thought there was something there. Very quickly, that went sour. My God. Damn. Horrifically. Just horrific. I love Natty, obviously part of the Hart Foundation, Hall of Fame talent, but pack it in. Retire. Sign a freaking Legends deal. She's not been a meaningful storyline in at least 7 or 8 years. Enough. Okay, enough. Backstage, we had Danhausen, Curtis Grayson Waller when Kofi threw him in front of him after he turned down, Javon Evans turned down his offer to join the New Day. Can they do something else with the New Day and Grayson Waller? My God. And Randy Orton had the interview. He was on the phone with somebody. I wonder who that was. And he told Michael Cole I'm not doing the interview, and he said one thing. Can you have any worse Wi-Fi? Like, you're a $1 billion company. Why is Randy of like 480p freaking video quality? That was kind of embarrassing, to be honest. I mean, it's something Vaquero gets for Raquel Rodriguez. This was a decent match. Vaquero wins. Obviously, she gets ready for her Women's World Title match against Liv Morgan at WrestleMania. Obviously, Sky came out and calls a distraction, which was kind of random, but something's definitely brewing there. We had CM Punk and Roman Reigns. This segment was embarrassing. So 2 weeks ago, CM Punk called out Roman Reigns' dead dad. The following week, he doesn't even come out. The Usos go out. They demand Punk apologizes. He doesn't, and then he gets punched in the face by Jey Uso. Following, Roman Reigns comes back, calls out CM Punk. Roman calls him old. I don't know what's worse. The fact that his comeback for him saying I'm going to bury next to your dead dad is that, oh, you're old. When people say it to CM Punk all the time, he doesn't mind. I don't know if that's worse or the fact that it got to CM Punk and CM Punk punched him in the face. Like, God, this feud is so terrible, so embarrassing. This main event's not going to live up to the hype. This feud sucks. It's the most overrated wrestlers of the modern era. They both suck. Roman literally has no mic skills. It's really embarrassing. His mic skills are not that good. And this was embarrassing. Overall, solid Raw, but did not like the ending at all. All right, so we got for you guys today. Till next time, so long. Have a great day.